So Sister Susannah is closely connected to Love Letters, which is an EP I released last year, which was more personal and kind of written on the back of personal experiences. But through writing the music on Love Letters, I was writing with a lot of women and connecting very deeply with female co-writers and creatives. And that was a very transformative experience for me. And so I kept wanting to further that process. Vocal about their opinions on my music, and I must say they're very grounding, because within 10 seconds they'll tell you if they don't like something, so I can be very floaty about my ideas, and then it's like that's not good, I don't like it, I don't get it, what's that about? In the aftermath of that attack with Nirbhaya, some of the things that could be said at times in articles or by people would be, oh gosh, it's especially shocking seeing as who she was, where she came from. So yeah, I speak very bad Tamil and I speak very bad Bengali, but my Bengali gets a lot more criticism from Bengalis because apparently I sound very South Indian.
Congratulations, Anoushka, for your new track, Sister Susannah, which released on March 22nd. Now, Land of Gold, was about the ongoing refugee crisis. And Sister Susannah comes across as a lot more personal, maybe a lot like those words. In fact, you've also been quoted as saying that the song is an offering in hope for change and healing. So would it then be right to say that with the song you are putting across very crucial issues, but at the same time also putting across some taboos?
So Sister Susannah is closely connected to Love Letters, which is an EP I released last year, which was more personal and kind of written on the back of personal experiences. But through writing the music on Love Letters, I was writing with a lot of women and connecting very deeply with female co-writers and creatives. And that was a very transformative experience for me. And so I kept wanting to further that process. However, over the course of the last year with the pandemic, there's been so much conversation around how women are disproportionately affected by the pandemic because they're disproportionately affected by everything. So that, that gets multiplied in situations like this, and, situations like domestic violence and abuse, how the numbers have gone up through lockdowns around the world. I mean, really terrifying stuff. And there's been certain high-profile people talking about their own experiences, really showing how absolutely universal and common violence or abuse against women and girls are. And so writing this song then felt even more important. I wanted to release it in context of the times we're in right now, where again we're talking about women and our experience, and there's a real collective moment that's happening again. And I think it's really important to try and amplify moments like that in whatever ways we can. And I think a song like this hopefully would make a difference as well.
Anoushka, you've been really strong enough, to talk about your personal battles, whether it was substance abuse, whether it was sexual abuse, or your battle with depression. Now, while you're facing all of these, were there ever any moments in your personal life when you just wanted to give it all up? Were there ever any moments when you did not want to go out and do a concert, you did not want to be part of any photo shoot, did not want to give out any interviews at all? I mean, one needs a lot of grit, to be facing all this in personal life and then to be stepping out to face the cameras. It's definitely not that easy.
No, it's not easy. Yeah, that's not easy, and at times that's been very difficult, but I think that's something universal as well. People who are struggling with big issues, whether it's mental health issues or addiction or trauma, have to kind of put themselves forward in their own lives as well. And I think maybe sometimes that's multiplied when you're in the public eye, because it does feel like the stakes are really high, that like you can't let a face go wrong, you can't, let on, and that can be really, really difficult. But over the years, I have to say that like I've become more and more comfortable with allowing that vulnerability. Like if I'm having a hard time, if I am struggling, I can be a bit more open about that nowadays. And I find that, and this is again a universal thing, but the more that we can accept how we feel and what's going on for us, the easier it is to move through it as well. So I don't pretend as much as I used to. And actually I'm better than I ever was as a result of that.
Anoushka, you dedicated and in fact also named a track, after Delhi gang rape victim. So clearly, activism was part of your music. But tell us, how important is it, to be using music as social activism?
Look, there are people I admire so greatly because they are full-time activists and human rights, workers and lawyers and people who really change the world. And I think they are the activists. Someone like me, I'm using my voice where I can, when it feels like I can have an impact, or when it feels like I have to. It usually comes up from inside me where it feels like I have to, and then I do. And I think I don't like to say it is important for music to play that role, because I think it's very much an individual choice that each artist has to do what's truthful for them. But I think as citizens, as people, we all have a role to play, whether that's within music or not. I think we all have a role to try and contribute positively to the world around us.
Anoushka, you've been a voice of valor and honesty. But why was it important for you to share your story of sexual abuse?
This is very much particular to that time because, thank God we are several years on from then, and so many more people have come forward and the conversation has changed. The nature of the conversation has changed. But when I shared my story, not many people had publicly, globally, and so, for example, in the aftermath of that attack with Nirbhaya, some of the things that could be said at times in articles or by people would be, oh gosh, it's especially shocking seeing as, who she was, where she came from, or, people are especially affected because she was middle class, and, all this horrible stuff that kind of made me understand that people have so many biases where they don't understand how universal this is. And I suddenly felt like a bolt of lightning. I felt like, as my father's daughter, with that certain kind of pedigree, with that upbringing, with that position I have in music and in culture, for me to say I've been abused then challenges that total thought that it can't happen to certain people, because I know people were shocked that it could have happened to me. But actually, sadly, it's not shocking at all that it could happen to me, because it happens to everyone.
Okay, let's now talk about Grammys 2021. It was a historic event for women, and that's not all. Even the Academy had, really interesting news for female directors. For the first time in 93 years, Academy had nominated two women, Zhao and Fennel, under the Best Director category. I mean, this is historic. But you tell me, is this enough for women who are at the top of their game to feel better, to feel less isolated?
I think it's all part of a process, right? I mean, progress is happening there, and it's been slow and it's been long coming, but progress is happening. I think anything less than 50% roughly is not enough. So to have that conversation about, are we there yet? No, we're not. This is great. We should celebrate it. But we shouldn't also then relax and think this is good enough.
Now tell me, have your two absolutely adorable kids, Zubin and Mohan, helped you adopt a completely different approach to music? Have the inputs helped you sort of, have a different perspective about music?
I mean, they're very vocal about their opinions on my music, and I must say they're very grounding, because within 10 seconds they'll tell you if they don't like something, so I can be very floaty about my ideas, and then it's like, that's not good, I don't like it, I don't get it, what's that about? And it's like, okay. But yeah, I think, there is a nuance to my life experience as a mother that's definitely impacted my art in ways that I can't quantify. It's not as easy as saying it's changed this way or it's changed that way, but they've changed everything. And so my music is a part of that.
Now, you continue to be lauded for your work in Mirror A Suitable Boy. So, are plans underway to take up similar projects in future? What's the lineup like?
No one's asking me. So maybe if they ask me, maybe I will. I think I spent so many years saying I would not do it back in the day. And I said no to a lot of things because of timing and context. But at this point, I feel like I'm a little older. I'm a little bit more comfortable in my music writing, and scoring feels like a much more attractive to me, but also something I can add to a bit more than when I was younger. So yeah, I would love to do more, and it obviously has to be, the right fit where someone would want who I am and what I do.
Now, you've often talked about the right fit. Now, who, according to you, from the Indian film industry, can offer you the right projects, the projects that you're interested in?
Um, it's not about that. I mean, there's filmmakers who are wonderful. There are production companies that are wonderful. I particularly love how much that's happening in television at the moment. Like globally. I mean, television is on fire, and there's so much more freedom to experiment, I think. So I think if anything, I might be more interested in doing some fantastic, TV shows that were coming out of India where I could, because I'm not straight down the line. I don't make that kind of mainstream music that I think a mainstream film would require. So it's not a good fit mutually, but something that's a bit left field maybe would be lovely.
The COVID-19 pandemic made the music industry take up the concept of virtual concerts more seriously. But do you think virtual concerts are here to stay?
I mean, I think we've all kind of had to adapt to the technology, and thank God we've had this technology over this last year. And so I think it's added a lot to our experience, which is wonderful, and some of that will stay. But I went to one concert in 2020. There was a small window of time in London where some limited shows were happening. And I felt it in my body in a way that I had never been so aware of before, because that had been taken away from me for a while. And to be in the room with the music and to feel my cells responding to the sound waves, like I really just thought, we're meant to be in the room together. Like artists and listeners and dancers, we're supposed to be breathing the same air, So nothing, as far as I imagine, can replace that. So as soon as we can go back to that, yes please.
Before we wind up the interview, there is a special question that has come from your fans. They actually want to know if you speak Bengali in Tamil accent.
So yeah, I speak very bad Tamil and I speak very bad Bengali, but my Bengali gets a lot more criticism from Bengalis because apparently I sound very South Indian.
So is there a special message that you would like to send out to your fans, maybe both in Tamil and Bengali? I mean, you have fans across the world.
The multilingual message. I don't know, what can I say other than like something I don't even know how to say properly in all languages, but just that I feel so much gratitude and love for people that are along the journey with me. That's a really beautiful thing, and I feel very, very lucky to have that. So thank you, everyone.